Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I am Jason. That is Kevin. On YouTube, we are a part of the Orange and Black Insider. It's us. And then it's OBI, which is Anthony Cosenza and John Sheeran. And then our audio side, we are a member of the Believe Network. Our channel is called Believe in Cincy. It's Three and Out. It's OBI. It's Matt and Willie No Ball. And it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. There's basically Bengals content every day, sometimes multiple times a day. So update your RSS feed, subscribe, like, follow, all that jazz. We missed last week's show. Just life got in the way. The Bengals beat the Giants on the road. We're not going to talk about it. The Bengals play the Browns this weekend. We're not going to talk about it. What we're going to talk about is I think it's time for the Bengals to go all in. And I know they're 2-4. They're 2-4. I know that. But it's time for them to say, okay, it's our year. We're going to trade a couple assets away, a couple draft picks away. We're going to bring some people in. Max Crosby obviously jumps off the page. I don't expect the Cleveland Browns would ever trade Myles Garrett to an in-division rival, but if it was possible, bringing Myles Garrett in here or something like that. But you, Kevin,
yes,
don't think that it's time that they should not try to go all in for this year. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
No, I do not. So this is the premise of the episode. Jason's going to try to convince me why a 2-4 team needs to go all in today.
Yep.
For the Super Bowl run. Jason?
Yes.
What do you got?
Okay. So you said 2-4, and that makes it sound like I'm crazy. That's the thing that bothers me. And I understand what you're saying, but let me say this. The next two games are winnable. Cleveland Browns are the worst team in football right now. Got the worst offense in football right now. The Bengals should go up to Cleveland and beat them. And then they come home for the whiteout game against an Eagles team that's struggling. You know what I mean? They're struggling. The defense played better against the Giants. I expect them to continue that trend in Cleveland, and then I expect them to continue that trend in Philadelphia. And if the offense, plays like they did earlier in the season, and there's no reason for us to think that the Giants game is going to start a trend. There's no reason to think that at all.
No.
They come out of these two games 4-4, right?
Sure.
And then they have the Baltimore Ravens again. Now, what I'm saying is if you bring in the right guy, and let's just say Max Crosby for it, and I know it would be a huge sound. I know it would be a huge hit. It would make doing certain things that they want to do impossible because he wants a lot of money and they would have to extend him. But if you bring in Max Crosby and you have him across from Trey Hendrickson, and then you still have Miles Murphy and you still have Joseph Osai, though I don't know if he's even going to be on the team if Max Crosby's there, and you still have Sam Hubbard, who's continuously getting better and better, then I think that's the difference between 4-4 and 3-5 when the Bengals play the Ravens. And then if they're 4-4 when they play the Ravens and then they beat the Ravens, then it's the division's open again. You know what I mean?
Sure.
More than likely. Go ahead.
But I don't want to go all in to win the division. I want to go all in to win the Super Bowl.
Right. And that's
the Super Bowl, we need a core. We need a core first, and then you go all in to shore up your issues. You think we have the core?
Yes, I do.
And who would you say the core is?
Of the offense?
The core of the team.
Oh, Joe Burrow.
You got your core players.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
Joe Burrow.
Jamar
Chase. T. Higgins right now. I think he's a core player. Absolutely.
Well, if you're counting him as a core player, you got to realize that going all in.
I know.
Means it's a one and done.
Yep, it is a one and done. Make it count. So I think Joe Burrow. I think T. Higgins. I think Jamar Chase. And on safety, you got Trey Hendrickson. I don't know if there's anyone else I can say. I love our linebacker. I love Jermaine Pratt. I love Logan Wilson, but I don't know if I'm willing to put a linebacker in a core player just because the position's been devalued.
Sure.
But you add Max Crosby in there, and then you have bookend offensive or bookend lethal pass rushers. And then you have B.J. Hill, and you have Sheldon Rankins, and a rotational piece of defensive tackles. You know what I mean? That keep them healthy throughout the year. That's Max Crosby on this different defensive front is the difference between potential to be good versus potential to be fantastic. I mean, I don't know how you block two edge rushers like that and then step up into the pocket with Sheldon Rankins. You know what I mean? Don't have to send much pressure anymore. And this is just one guy, just one case for Max Crosby. This could be other people too. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, if you get to the playoffs, let's say they don't win the division. Let's say they go 4-4. They get Max Crosby. They beat the Ravens, but then, they lose a game here, there, whatever. And they get it's just get to the playoffs. Get to the playoffs. And your record's 0-0. I'm not worried about having a home playoff game. Their record's 0-3 at home. Who cares? They're better on the road right now. I've watched teams. When we watched the Giants beat the Patriots, a juggernaut one time, at Road Warriors throughout the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind that this team has potential to win on the road in the playoffs. We've seen them do it before. Get to the playoffs. Just get a guy that can help you get there. And if you get to the playoffs, all bets are off. Doesn't matter anymore.
But all bets aren't off. That's the point. It's not just go to the playoffs and then wink in a prayer. This team has potential. This team has a lot of potential. That potential is unrealized. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have multiple defensive linemen who have shown up a little bit. We've got Chris Jenkins, even McKinley Jackson, to a certain extent, looked good. These are not core players, but they might be next year.
Right.
You're going to lose T. Higgins.
Yep.
But we've got a couple cornerbacks might step up. They could be players next year. As of right now, this team is not Max Crosby away from being a Super Bowl caliber team. Like, you cannot look at this team and go, if we had Max Crosby, we beat the 49ers 6 times out of 10.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Max Crosby guarantees that they can beat the Niners or even win the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is right now you're wasting. Joe Burrow's on pace for like 4,500 yards. He's on pace to have close to or better than he's ever passed before if he plays the whole season, which I'm assuming he will. You're going to waste a potential MVP season for him. You're going to waste the last season of T. Higgins in a Bengals uniform. You're going to waste whatever you get from Jamar Chase. You're going to just so much. They have the offensive line. They have the offense to win it all. And they just need a little bit of a push on defense. And I agree with what you're saying. It's possible that next year we could have the same conversation and I could say, well, Chris Jenkins is a core player. And you could say, yeah, I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, you're right. Adding Max Crosby or someone like that doesn't guarantee anything. But wouldn't you rather see them throw that Hail Mary pass rather than just tuck their tail and walk into 2025 saying, well, this will be the year, I guess. We're just going to let it coast. Because, are you saying you want to sell? Let's trade T. Higgins.
I would be more in the camp of sell as long as it was only T. Higgins than I am buy. Because hear me out. We are not where we need to be. We are not where we need to be in multiple places. The wide receivers look good and Joe Burrow's on a tear. Joe Burrow is making this offense look better than it is in certain regards. Gesicki is fine, but the offensive line has holes. The running back core, Chase Brown still hasn't hit quite where we want him to hit, and Zach Moss is looking a little worse than he has in the past. The defense could use a true shutdown corner. The defense could use multiple playmakers on the defensive line. All of these things can be solved within a single year, assuming stuff goes the way we hope it'll go. I get Gesicki's gone, but Eric All might be it next year. Yeah. I get that the D-line has issues. Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson could be the core we need.
Right.
We lose T. Higgins, but we got Yoshi, and we hope Burton hits. I just don't think the time to go all in is after the first good draft we've had in 3 drafts when we're bleeding talent. I want a core, and then I want to supplement that core with 1 or 2 superstars to push us over the line. I just don't think we can add enough talent this year.
So I think
we can. That's not fair. We can, but we can't count on it.
Right.
5 games from now, Jenkins might hit.
Right.
We don't know that. Next year we'll know.
But that's anything. That's any time you do anything with anybody is, Max Crosby's a free agent. The Bengals got him on a great deal, and then he gets hurt in week 2. It doesn't, anything that you do is a risk. Anything. I think it comes down to this is, do you realistically believe, and this is a question for you right now, do you realistically believe, Kevin, that if they get to the playoffs, which I think that you agree that it's possible they could still get to the playoffs, right?
Yes, of
You
course.
see a path forward? Okay. Do you realistically believe this team can win the Super Bowl this year?
No.
Okay. See, I think they can. I think that's the difference. Is I see an offense that's capable of putting up 30 to 40 points a game, and I see a defense that's healthy and vastly improved, at least on the front seven. Now, I understand that last week they played the Giants, and you got Danny Dimes. I get that. You know what I mean? They played the Giants. I have faith that
and that game, if we're being honest and fair, that game goes a lot differently if Danny Dimes doesn't overthrow about half his receivers when they're wide open because they just burnt our cornerbacks.
Yep, for sure. And you're right. But I'm just saying that I do believe that this team, with a healthy defensive front and a secondary that's, hopefully going to improve, I do believe this team can win a Super Bowl. Mainly because I think that if you get in a shootout, I just trust Joe Burrow. The big issue, I think, comes into this year and all these trends we're seeing about running the ball and being able to stop the run and everything like that. But they're healthy again, and they looked the Giants wanted to run the ball. We wouldn't let them. The Ravens tried to run the ball. They held Chris Henry to like 2.5 yards per carry until he broke off that 50-something yard run in overtime. That's a game we should have won.
Sure.
So here's a question for you. Let's say Ryan Rakow doesn't drop that ball. You know what I mean? And Evan McPherson kicks the ball in overtime. We win the Ravens game. And then let's say the Patriots game. Tanner Hudson doesn't fumble going into the end zone. Right? So instead of 2-4, they're 4-2. Which I don't think it's unreasonable to say those things could have happened. So they could have. Would you be singing a different tune? Even though it's just 2 plays.
I very well could be, yeah, but it's not 2 plays. It's
I know.
2 plays. That's right. Every football game I've ever watched is 2 plays. And it's every fan base looks at the 2 plays that hurt them the most and they go, oh, those are the ones. But there's also always the turnovers, the stuff we don't capitalize on. The fact that we didn't make 15 passes before that moment that made that Tanner Hudson fumble be the end of it. This team isn't 2 plays away from winning and suddenly being great. We should have blown those teams out, we didn't do it. So here's what I have to say about this. If you're asking, do I want to go all in because it's much more fun to try than it is to just not? Of course, I want to go all in because I have big issues, especially recently. It's all come to the surface with the way the ownership runs this place. So of course I want to do that. But let me pitch you the counterpoint.
Okay.
Do you want to go all in with who you think Eric All is going to be next year or with Mike Gesicki?
Well, if they go in this year, they don't have a choice. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying I know, but that's what I'm pitching. I'm pitching next year. So would you rather the person you think Eric All will be or Mike Gesicki?
I don't know. To be honest, I mean, I don't know. I think that Eric All has all that potential. I doubt that Gesicki's back next year, no matter what he does this year. I mean,
that's my point. I'm talking about next year versus this year.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But like, again, would you rather who you think Jenkins will be or who you think Sheldon Rankins is? Is it who you think Matt Lee will be or who are, I guess, well, we'll lose Karras, which sucks. Karras is the only part of the interior that's stable.
Yeah.
Would you rather put in 2 additional guards who aren't stepping constantly on Joe Burrow's ankles and or looking their age in Alex Kappa? You know what I mean? Like, I just not certain this is the team to go all in on, but it would be much more fun.
So I was thinking about it before the show started, like all these different things I was going to say. And the Rams came to mind. The Rams had a great defense. They had some weapons on offense, and they had Jared Goff, who they felt could not win them football games for some reason because he's good. So they traded for Matt Stafford. They went all in completely. They're in cap hell still because of it, but they won a Super Bowl. I don't know when they're going to go back to the Super Bowl. They're not the best team in their division. They're not close to being the best team in their division. You know what I mean? Matt Stafford's closer to retirement than he is playing 2 more seasons for them. the Niners are the team to beat, even though the most recent Super Bowl winner was the Rams. What I'm saying is I'd be willing to trade the next 6-7 years to win this year. I'm fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Now I don't know.
I would
like
be
you
willing
said,
to do that too.
yeah, but I don't. But like you said, it would be a risk because I don't know if one player is enough. That's a good point that you're bringing up. Is let's say they bring in Max Crosby and then the secondary gets beat. You don't have a good enough secondary to add. You know what I'm saying? And then let's say,
Yes.
okay, well then they'll bring in a cornerback instead of a defense or instead of a defensive lineman, but you still don't get pressure on the quarterback. I get that. I'm just counting on someone stepping up, someone on the roster currently, or maybe DJ Ivey gets healthy and he's the difference. Something. I just know that this team has greatness in it. Now it does.
Yes,
It's unfortunate that they're 2-4.
No,
and I just hate. I don't want to see this awesome Joe Burrow season just get wasted because that's what's going to happen. I would like to see them.
What's going to happen.
Right. I would like to see them say, "Hey, let's go get somebody. Let's make a run at this thing. Let's at least try. You know, we're 2-4. Let's go make a run at this thing. Try to get in the playoffs, and let's not waste T. Higgins and Joe Burrow for the last time together. Let's not waste one of Trey Hendrickson's maybe last prime years. I don't know how long he's going to be able to play. You know,
sure.
Let's not waste whatever this offensive line that we have right now. You know what I mean? That's my thinking. Now, business wise, I don't think it makes a ton of sense. It doesn't. It's more of like an emotional. You know what I mean? Like an emotion.
Actually,
I want to win.
It makes total sense business wise, but I really do believe that. I think
the way the Browns do business.
No, but they could rejuvenate this fan base for 3 years.
Totally.
With another successful Super Bowl run. Totally. I'm not sold because I think where we're at is I don't think you can really do what you want to do without 2 successful drafts under your belt back to back. You need a core of young talent that you then shore up with a couple veterans to take your team from good to great. Okay. I get what you're saying about the Rams, but look what happened to the Rams. I'm not saying they didn't win their Super Bowl, but I'm saying they almost didn't from a team that no one thought was going to be more than like maybe 6 to 8 wins. Suddenly went on a tear because we had good drafts. We had 2 back-to-back drafts that added crazy cheap talent to our roster. And you have to have that cheap, talented core to make a true Super Bowl run. That's what I believe. So I am not like denigrating what we've got. You're right. It sucks that the offense is hitting like it's hitting, and it probably won't be enough. But you have convinced me to a certain extent. We would need more. I'm more interested in grabbing I don't know who would even be out there. I'd be much more interested in grabbing a true shutdown corner.
I agree with you. I don't know who's available. Yeah, I don't know who's available.
That's not the
out
point
there
of this
either.
exercise. Is not to pitch trades.
And let me play devil's advocate to something that you just said before you keep using. Do you mind? Right. Okay. So you said that it was because of a crazy successful draft, and you're right. The 2020 draft was incredible because they got Joe Burrow. They got who else did they get? They got like tons of. They got Joe Burrow. They got T. Higgins. They got Logan Wilson. They got a couple other guys. They also signed Mike Hilton. They also signed DJ Reader, and they also signed Trey Hendrickson. And no one can tell me that those 3 guys didn't get them to the Super Bowl, or a huge part, because they were a massive part. Expensive free agent. They have to spend money. It cannot just be in the draft. It can't be. It is no coincidence that we went to the Super Bowl or that we won playoff games when they started opening the coin purse and signing big name free agents. Now I understand they had to. Salary cap went up, and part of this new CBA is you have to spend a certain percentage of it and stuff like that. But going out and getting DJ Reader and Mike Hilton and who was the other person? Trey Anderson. God.
Yeah.
Trey Anderson. That's not something that old Bengals would have done. You know what I mean? And they did it all in one big group. So I do think that, I mean, it can't just be the draft. It has to be money too. Let
me counteract your counteraction with saying you're looking at this with you're looking at this from our position now. You do not remember how those selections were viewed at the time. No one viewed them as bad selections.
I
But
know.
everybody went, oh my God, I can't believe they're going all in on a nose tackle. Is that who they really
Yeah.
need right now? Everybody
Yep.
thought Trey Hendrickson was a product of his environment, and everybody thought
Yep.
Mike Hilton was a product of the Steelers defense. We knew they were going to be good. We did not know how good they were going to be.
Yes.
Those are the moves you make in preseason, and they hit all three. It's almost the same thing as a draft. It's cheap talent that outplays what you're paying it, and we fucking nailed it. 1, 2, 3. You're absolutely correct. You don't find those mid-season.
No, you
You don't
don't.
find
You're
those
right.
mid-season. No one's
You're right.
trading a second round pick for a guy who's underperforming on one team, but might perform highly on this team.
That was a nice parry there, Kevin.
Thank
That
you.
was a good deflection. I don't know what to say to that. You're right. I don't know what to say to that. You might be able to find before the season started if Max Crosby was a free agent. Max Crosby's probably not the right name to use. But you're right.
No, but
when they signed,
we're all
right.
playing with the idea
Right.
of getting Max Crosby. It's never going to happen.
But
I get why.
But when they signed Trey Hendrickson, you and I both discussed how we were upset that they weren't keeping Carl Lawson. Because well, Carl Lawson's a creator. Trey Hendrickson just benefits from having these guys next to him. But we were so goddamn wrong. You know what I mean? Because Trey Hendrickson's one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. One, hands down, top 3.
Yes.
TJ, I'd say the top 3 edge rushers. I don't want to say top 3. 3 of the best edge rushers from the AFC North. You got Trey Hendrickson, you got TJ Watt,
yes.
You have Myles Garrett. Yeah, 3 of the best.
I would say Hendrickson, as far as rushing the quarterback's concerned, Trey Hendrickson is maybe the second best, in my opinion, in the NFL. He just doesn't quite have the run defense down, which is fine, which is why he'll never be quite up there with like the 1, 2, and 3s, but he's top 5.
But it's one of those things that you're paying him. Like the idea is that you're going to be enough ahead that they have to throw. You know what I mean? They have to throw to keep up. And that's when Trey Hendrickson is going to do his damage. So I think we both make good points. I think it's also very, very clear that none of this matters because it's not going to happen. It's all hypothetical. Nothing's going to happen. They're going to sit with what they have because they believe this is the team that can win. And my guess is they either make the playoffs as a wild card spot or they barely miss and they don't have what it takes to go all the way. But that's why I want them to add somebody. Now, it's much more complicated than that. You're talking about giving up at least a first-round draft pick probably, and then clearing up some way to give a ton of money away. And they only have...
Which isn't that complicated because the Bengals... I don't want to get into this. The Bengals don't do any cap shenanigans. If they were just willing to tomorrow, they could free up so much money just today because they haven't manipulated everybody's contracts the way everybody else has. They are prime to free up just an insane amount of cash if they really, really wanted to. But
I agree with you. I think the only thing that would muddy the waters with that is the fact that Chase hasn't been extended. You know what I mean? If he signed an extension before the season, I wouldn't really care about it. But with his contract still lingering, I don't know if I would feel comfortable spending a ton of money somewhere else. You know what I mean? I feel like, like you said, we both agree he's a core guy. He's top 2 wide receiver in the NFL. One of those guys you just can't let go.
Then the whole going in thing would have to be a high producing rookie, which would require a first or second round draft pick. Period. This is why I think, because I'm not against your idea, I just think it's a bit too late. I like the idea of going all in. I will beat the drum that the Bengals need to modernize. They need to play this game the way everybody else is playing this game, but they need to do it next year. The stuff you're saying about like, well, we could win the playoffs, we could do that. That's all true now. If this defense shores up, this offense can carry us. I just don't want to. I don't want to. You're worried about wasting the talent of like T. Higgins and Joe Burrow on a tear. I'm not worried about Joe Burrow not going on a tear again next year. I'm not worried about Jamar Chase falling off anytime soon. We will lose T. Higgins, but I am worried about losing the window for Mims, for Jenkins, for these players who are coming up. Because if we go all in this year and miss, then we're going to be looking at Mims and going like, man, it's really a shame that he never got to play on a team that could go to the Super Bowl. You're looking at Jenkins pressuring the middle, and we're going to say, man, it's a shame because we burnt out too early.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my feeling on it. But, and this is the last thing I have to say about it, I will gladly throw all that right out the window if we want to trade for Max Crosby or somebody similar, because I don't overly care about next year, this year. I just want football to be fun. And man, making a big move trade for a true lockdown corner or a Max Crosby or somebody who can really pressure the interior, I would take them in a second because damn, that sounds fun.
Do you know what's going to happen? It is. Do you know what's going to happen if they make a deal?
What's that?
When we have our next show?
The 3 and out effect.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
Jason,
it would be a lot of.
It is insane that you keep trying to make that a thing because you bust it out twice a season, and there's no reality in which anybody is like 6 months later going like, "Oh, that recurring bit."
I know, but I know it's a thing. I know it's a thing, so it makes me happy.
Fair enough.
I think that really this whole conversation comes down to whether you believe that it could, like, you know, if the scale leans one way or another, yes, they can do it, or no, they can't. And I think that my scale says, oh, I think they can do it. I realistically think they can, and I think your scale says I don't think they can this year. You know what I mean? And so you know what I'm saying? I think they realistically can if they go all in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
ask me again in 2 games, and I might have a different opinion. But it's also early to be having like this discussion, which is, I mean, a lot of big moves are going on, so like, of course, we're having this discussion. But like, we don't quite know.
I know
what this defense even is yet. You know what I mean? I feel like in 2-3 games we will know, which might be too late to do anything by that point, anyways. So I do get what you're saying. But we're kind of in this no man's land where you're asking me, like, do I think they can do it? No, I don't, based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
But I'm very easy to convince. And I could be convinced in 2 or 3 games, no problem.
So it should be noted, Joe Goodberry believes what you just said there. Is I posed this question on Twitter, on Cincy Jungle's Twitter account, and it said, you know, like, hey, these are moving. Are you buy or are you sell? And he said, neither. I want to wait for 2 games. If they get to 4-4, we can have this discussion before the Ravens.
He and Joe Goodberry are kind of both in the same vein, considered the great minds of Bengals football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
why
sense.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah.
That's why you make the big bucks, buddy. So you know, I get that too. I think my only thought is like, okay, they're 4-4 now. They got these 2 wins. Let's go get somebody, and there's nobody left. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But hey, if you're watching, leave a comment, listening, follow us on Twitter, whatever. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. You got anything else, man?
No, that is it. This was fun though.
Yep. Yeah, it was. All right. So once again, we are on the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. It is us 3 and out, and it's John and Anthony over at OBI. And then on the audio side of things, we are on Believe in Cincy in the Believe Network, BLEAV. And that's us. It's OBI. It's Matt and Willie No Ball. And it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. Great content, again, every single day. And then we had, you know, there's a lot of good interviews and stuff like that. I think Bengal Jim and Friends had Mo Egger on last night. So, but yeah, check that stuff out. Like, subscribe, the whole deal. CincyJungle.com. That's where you're going to find the articles for the show and everything like that. Thanks for watching. I'm hoping that this time next week we'll have a discussion about the Bengals being 3-4, 3-4, and sending out a private jet for Max Crosby to come back. There we go for the Eagles game. All right. Thanks again for watching. Kevin, have a good night, and Who Dey?
Who Dey?